Hi everyone, we're going to be making some tandoori lamb chops. I've had a few people ask me for a cook video on these, so that's what we're going to do today. I've got 8 lamb chops. These have already come from the butcher. They've already been cut at the side. So usually you have your chop, quite a bit of fat, and then you have a bone there, but these have been cut out. If you prefer to have the bone, you know, it's easy to eat, then leave them in. Usually I just take them out. So I've got here a meat hammer. So what I'm going to do before I do anything else is just use the hammer and tenderize the meat. So you literally take one of them, take this side of the hammer, and I'm just going to tenderize the meat. So I would highly recommend you do that. If you don't have a meat hammer, you can improvise. You could take a cloth, put it over, hit it with something heavy like a hammer or another device. So first things first, I'm going to tenderize the meat. That didn't take long, so that's all of the chops tenderized. So we're going to get the spices together next, and I'm going to show you what the marinade is going to be. So I've put all of the chops in a bowl, and I'm going to do a 2-stage marination process. So if you've seen my other videos, it works really well with tandoori chicken, and it works really well with the lamb chops as well. So I've got 8 chops here. So the first thing I'm going to add is around about half a teaspoon of normal table salt. So I'll just put that in, spread that across evenly. So that's salt. Next thing is lime juice. Don't use lemon, use lime. So I'm going to be putting in about a tablespoon. Put that in there, spread it around. Next I'm going to put in a tablespoon of ginger and garlic paste. You can use fresh of course, but just for ease I'm using paste. So again, 1 tablespoon. Spread that around a bit. Sorry, that should have been a heaped tablespoon, put a little bit more in. And then we're going to put in some food colouring. So I've taken about half a teaspoon of food colouring powder. I've put in some warm water, it's got to be warm, and I'm going to put that in. That is not essential at all, I'm just putting it in to give it that red look, but you can avoid this if you don't want it. So I'm going to put that in next. So there we have it. So I'm just going to give this a little bit of a mix and move the lamb chops around a bit, and then put the remaining food colouring in. So I'm going to make sure it's nicely coated. So this first marinate, it's about 40-45 minutes, maximum 1 hour. And then once we've done that, we will then prepare the main marinade, and then it will stay in there for approximately 1 night. If you're running out of time, you can do an hour, but if you want the best flavour, it's got to be overnight. So that's nicely mixed. You can see already there, nice red colour. And actually, I don't think I'm going to need to add any more food colouring, because there's a little bit at the bottom just hiding there. So just pouring that over everything. There we go. Now you see lamb chops are naturally quite fatty. There's bits of fat hanging off, so don't worry about that. I'm going to cook this over coals. Lamb like this, always good over coals. So either over a coal barbecue or in a tandoor, whatever you've got at home. If you don't have either of those, you can use a grill. I wouldn't oven them. I would use a grill, or a broiler as it's called in America. So if you're going to grill them, you're probably looking at about 12-13 minutes, assuming they're at room temperature. You want to get it to a nice char on the top to give it some extra flavour. So that's nicely coated, I think. Yeah, so just one last bit, get a bit of flavour. So that's nicely absorbed everything. There's no excess liquid at the bottom. That's what you want. All the flavour's been mixed in of the garlic, ginger and the salt. So the salt will help the moisture. So I'm now going to put that back in the fridge. It's going to sit there probably 45 minutes, I'm then going to take it out. We're going to make a yogurt paste marinade. Well, not a paste, but a yogurt based marinade. And then we're going to put this into the yogurt, keep that in there overnight, and then it'll be ready to be cooked. So 45 minutes has passed and I've taken the lamb out of the fridge. You can see it's nicely taken up that red colouring. So we need to create the marinade. So I've got another bowl here. I'll tell you what I'm going to put in it. First things first, take a small red onion, and you only want half a red onion. I've chopped it in little squares. So 1 red onion. It has to be red, I'm afraid. Red onion works really well with lamb. So we've put half a red onion in there. We're going to get some normal salt. We're going to put in about half a teaspoon. It's in there. Half a teaspoon of normal salt. We are going to put in a little bit of turmeric, about half a teaspoon. We're then going to put in 1 level tablespoon of coriander. We're then going to put a level tablespoon of cumin. We're then going to put in a level tablespoon of paprika. It's about a level tablespoon. We're then going to put in some tandoori masala. So I'm going to put a heaped tablespoon of that and a little bit more. I'm then going to put in some, where is it gone? Mustard oil. So 1.5. If you don't like mustard oil, either take it out, you can replace it with normal oil, but if that's not your thing, then it's not your thing, I'm afraid. Lots of people don't like mustard oil, but I always use it, and I've never ever had any problems with it, if I'm honest with you. We then need to put in some garam masala. So again, we're going to put in about a level tablespoon. So there we go. So to recap, you've got mustard oil, coriander, cumin, garam masala, tandoori masala, paprika, a little bit of turmeric, a little bit of salt, half an onion, red onion. Give that a little bit of a mix. You can see how the onions taking up all of the flavour. That's what we want. So see how that's nicely reduced. We're now going to add the magic ingredient. Get that out. The magic ingredient, which is going to be yogurt. So I'm using full fat Greek yogurt. I'll just show you there. And we're going to put in 1, 2, 3 tablespoons. Mix it up. You'll notice the yogurt's turned a nice colour. You find the masala and the paprika changes the colour of it. There we go. I'm going to add actually a little bit more yogurt. Don't think I'm going to have enough. So I'm going to put 1 more heaped tablespoon of yogurt in there. Because I've actually got 8 chops today. There we go. So what I'm going to do next is take this, spoon it over, like so. Then I'm going to fold it over like so, and spoon over the mixture. Now, bearing in mind I've got mixture in here, what I normally do is, I like to do this, I'll mix it all in here, make sure it's nicely covered, and then return it into the other bowl. There we go, nicely covered. So we'll put this back into this original bowl where the stuff was. And get all of these juices out as well. Now, marination is key. You want to marinate minimum an hour, but guys, really, if you want the full flavour of a nice tandoori lamb chop, you need to marinate overnight. So if you marinate in a fridge, cling film over the top, and then you can cook it in a tandoor, you can cook it in the grill, so under a grill, you can cook it over coals. Now, if you're cooking it in a normal barbecue, you want to make sure your coals aren't too hot. You want your coal to be nice and white, and you want to create some nice char on it towards the end. Likewise, if you're on a grill, medium heat, probably 12 to 14 minutes until you get a nice char, and obviously turn over as well. Don't be afraid if it takes a little bit more than 12 to 14 minutes on your grill or broiler. You know it's done when it's a nice colour. So that's nicely mixed. I'm now going to put that in the fridge with some cling film over the top, and then we're going to cook that tomorrow. So it's the following morning. I've just taken the lamb out of the fridge. I ran out of cling film, so I used foil instead. As long as it's airtight, that's fine. Take a look. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out the bowl. We're going to put it on some skewers. So usually, if you've watched my other videos, I use about a centimetre thick skewers. I've got these ones which are a lot thinner. They have a wooden handle, so I've been soaking it in water because I'm going to put this in the tandoor. So I figured if I used a thinner one, affects less of the meat because it having such a small surface area, whereas with a big thick one it'll make quite a big hole in the middle of the meat. So I'm going to use the thin one, so I've got two of them, so I'm going to put 4 chops on each one. So we'll put them on the skewer, then I'm going to leave them to rest room temperature for about half an hour or so, and then we will cook them. So I'm just putting the chops on the skewer. So what I'm doing is I'm feeding the skewer close to where the meat and the bone touches, so I'm not piercing the meat. If you've got any long dangling bits like that, you can just flip that around. It's mainly fat. There we go. That's 2. Get the next one out. There's 3. And I'm going to put 1 more on this, and then put the remaining 4 on the other skewer. So that's the lamb on the skewers. There's a little bit of marinade left in the bottom, and some onions. So using your hands, obviously wear gloves if you wish, because it can get a bit messy. I'm just putting the marinade on the meat. Don't waste it, lots of flavour in there, particularly the onions if you remember from the marinade. I'm just going to get it all out. As I said, very messy. And that's nearly all the chops covered with a little bit of extra. So that's just going to sit for about 25 minutes now, and then we'll put it straight in the tandoor to cook. And as I said, if you don't have a tandoor, you can make it straight over charcoal, If you don't have a barbecue, you can make it under a grill or a broiler, medium heat. I think I said yesterday about 12 minutes or so each side, and you want to get it to sort of really nice little char. Don't undercook it. These are not meant to be medium rare. You want them nicely done, and you want the outside to have a nice char on it where possible to bring out the flavour of the marinade. So we will rest it and we will cook, and I'll be back shortly, and I'll show you it in the tandoor as well. So the tandoor has been on for a while. You can see there, nice and white charcoal. So we're going to put the food in next. Check the temperature. Over 200 degrees, that's fine. You can do it a lot hotter, but for what we're making today, that's fine. So there's one, and two. So now that's in there. Hopefully you can see. There we go. So that's going to cook, and we'll come back in about 10 minutes. Here's a closer angle. Just been put in. Put the lid back on now and see how it gets on. So let's have a peek. It smells fantastic. They look really good. So we'll cut the flames. That'll be the fat dripping down. So I'm just going to turn them around, and they are nearly done. Just took them out to have a little sneak peek, just so you can see how they're getting on. They are nearly done. I'm just going to separate them a little bit and put them back in just for a few more minutes. Sorry, it's very windy, but hope you can hear me. So I've spread them out a bit, spin in for a few more minutes, and they look so much better now. They're spread out nicely, been covered. Look at that. Really nice. So I'm just going to pop the lid back on a couple more minutes, and then I'm going to take them off. That's them done, guys.